Wells only and his guests are not responsible for any losses you may accrue for having weak hands. Where the haters at? Y'all bitches still ain't showed up. And now, right, we got Hex. Flawless uptime. People thought this was a joke. Now they're mad at the chart.
This is Wales only. Glad you guys can make it out. I'm making some claims that are pretty outlandish, but I can back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there, so don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're gonna pay the consequences for that, and that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody, literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics, right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The Godwell told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. Yo, what's good, fam? Hope everybody's having an outstanding Thursday. 4 days away from Navidad, for those that care and are into that commercial stuff. Just another day over here where they keep throwing shit out the wall, trying to see what sticks. So let's get into it. Let's see. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming through. Let's see here. As you guys know, I like to start with the most youngest one first, basically. It looks like growing number. We'll go with this one first. Growing number of GOP candidates pledged to disavow COVID-19 vaccine and Big Pharma. I don't know what they're waiting on, but it sounds good. Sounds good, right? Because, I mean, it's almost that time of the cycle where people start, asking for your vote and shit. So all of a sudden, they're going to try to be logical. Just, don't fall for it. Israeli firm pitches beachfront real estate in leveled Gaza. I'd like to say I'm surprised, but then I'd be lying. What I am is surprised it took so long. Let's be honest. I mean, I think the headline speaks for itself. But damn. If this is real, this is quite something. I mean, if you don't know about Palestine in 2023, there's just not much helping you. I don't even know. I just don't know. But that's where we are. Alrighty, moving on. Fat Leonard, who filmed orgies involving senior Navy admirals, extradited to the U.S. by Venezuela. I don't know exactly what's up with this, but I'm trying to understand this ending part. Cause why would they care? I don't know. Ah, part of a prisoner exchange. And look at that. He grants up. Hold on, guys. It's fucking Christmas. All right, that should be good enough. Granting clemency for a money man for the president. So as you guys can see, the U.S. supports communist regimes. After all, otherwise that transaction would not be happening. Thousands of doctors take legal action against transgender mandate. Well, at least somebody's using their brain. I mean, all people have to do is just ignore it and it disappears because it really doesn't exist because it's not real. Very simple stuff. Banks' usage of the Fed's bailout facility soars to new record highs. So those liquidity expectations I keep talking about, there they go. There they go. So for the second week in a row, money market funds saw outflows down 16.1 billion this week. And this chart is just showing the decline in the data point. Or did it open another link? Sure did. Oh, well, that's annoying as F. All right. We'll roll with it. Once again, institutional funds were responsible for all the outflows, 26 billion, while retail funds continue their streak on inflows, 10 billion, that is unbroken since April. So, long story short, mom and pops are still buying money market funds, i.e., not stocks, while apparently institutional money is buying stocks because that's the only reason this money would be leaving money market funds. Because money market funds is like cash. People put cash in there and they earn yield on that cash, and that's why it's called the money market fund. In a breakdown for the week to December 20th, government funds, which invest primarily in securities like T-bills, repurchase agreements, and agency debts, saw assets fall to 4.79 trillion, a $24 billion decline. Prime funds, which tend to invest in higher risk assets such as commercial paper, meanwhile saw assets rise. Total net increase 7.7 billion. So preference in certain types of yields, certain types of liquidity, certain types of return profile. That's really what this is highlighting. Nothing really earth shattering here, but it's important to know where these funds are coming from, right? Because that is pretty much being reverse engineered by the Fed because it comes from them. Usage of the Fed's BTFP bank bailout facility soared again last week, jumping to 131 billion after a 7.5 billion drawing on the line. And as you guys can see here, uh, it's not small, right? It's a sizable relative to what usually happens. And going back to June, which is 6 months ago, there hadn't really been that big of a drawing. So it's pretty material. Regional banks don't care, apparently. They stopped going in line with those drawings because that's a sign of weakness, right? If banks have to borrow from, are you guys able to see? Hold on. Hold on, guys. Let me just fix my screen because then it started acting funny. All right. All right, we're gonna go now. So basically, this is the price of regional banking stocks, essentially disallocating or disassociating from fundamentals. Because if they're borrowing, right, and just let's look at what's going on in this chart here. The left hand side is the bank term funding program inverted. So lower is higher. And in line with that logic, if banks are taking out money because they're weak financially, then the value of those stocks should go down. But what's happening is the opposite, right? And that's what this chart is showing, the gap in the valuation relative to fundamentals. And what we have here is a chart showing the rate that they're paying out and the interest on reserves. So even though the Fed is getting paid, they're paying out more. And that's why this is green. The 52 basis point spread matches the widest level since the Fed introduced the facility to support a struggling banking system after the collapse of California's Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank in New York. But, as we all know, equity markets are loving all this stuff, right? If we pull up these charts, let's get rid of some of this stuff here. It's pretty obvious what's going on. And over that period of time, we put a 3-day, we're talking about, we can go down to daily. We're talking about March 2023, right? That was literally the bottom. Stocks have only gone up since that point in time. So, seems like that was some type of catalyst for buying, right? And I'll tell you guys what, in my line of work, it's usually pretty busy when markets are crazy down. So institutional players understand what they need to be doing, while everybody else is doing the opposite. So this is just something to keep in mind in regards as to how capital actually flows, right? Because ultimately what we're seeing is that fundamentally, we look outside, the economy is in shambles. But even though the economy is in shambles, the stock market, right, isn't phased. So to the unsuspecting novice, it looks like everything is all good. But, again, if you're looking outside, you realize it's not. So perspective is not necessarily everything, but awareness is very important. Because now we're reaching a point where the market might be reaching an area of inflection. Have downward momentum. You have extremely decreased velocity. This is this downward angle here. And this is on the 233-minute basis. This red dashed line is essentially a marker for positioning in the derivatives market. So if dealers or whoever has these big positions is interested in protecting it, which is going to pay them a whole lot more, then that's a presumption anyway, then letting it slip by, then they're going to defend it and make that money. So that's what you end up seeing here, right? I mean, around this price level, 4,800, there's a whole lot of activity going on. And same thing really for NASDAQ at 17,000. So those are the two important levels for the equity markets at this point in time. And those are the two major markets, right? If you look at the mid cap, 2,800 is that level. I mean, nobody really looks at this, but it's all the same. We're just spotting the lines of demarcation between continuation and reversal. And right now, we don't get above 4,800 in the S&P. That pretty much spells reversal. And that's basically what the market is showing us, right? This is primarily people either covering their short positions or buying back in because they presume the trend continues, right? But over time, when you look at the big picture, that 4,800 level is pretty significant. So it's important to watch what happens here. And you also have a area of interest in the distribution of prices. So combination of factors that are lending itself to this analysis. All right, what else we got here? Inflationary aspects spiking corporate profits by major industry. Now, this is the kind of stuff I talk about all the time, just not necessarily phrased in this way, because what this is saying is that the increase in prices makes it seem as if things are better than they are, right? That's why we always talk about looking at the volume and not necessarily the value, because if you're not counting the number of units being sold, you're being sold a lie if it's something that is not, right? And that's typically what this chart is showing here. This is the inflationary spike, because what happened 2020 is this downward price action right here. And that's after that. And prices have only gone up. So 1 + 1 is 2. And the thing about it is that these are just revenues. These are not reduced, by profit. I'm sorry. The costs are not necessarily being reflected here in these values, right? So let's read a little bit. Let's see. Profits by financial domestic industries, 2%. Rose in 2% quarter over quarter. That's actually pretty fucking huge. To seasonally adjusted annual rate of 710 billion, the second highest behind the record in Q1, which was up 23% year over year. Yeah. These are profits. These are domestic profits by all financial companies except the Federal Reserve banks and bank holding companies, other credit intermediation, blah, 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 blah. All these other types of entities. Their customers are paying for those profits by paying higher prices. Okay, given. Fees, standard. Insurance premiums, well, yeah, this is where they're crushing. Right? Because, insurance that's the best scam out, which contributes to high inflation services. So that's fair enough. Let's keep going here. I just feel like the term profits isn't being really reflected accordingly. Corporate profits probably. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So what's interesting is that they're taking this. So let's read the BAA. The BEA's measures of corporate profits broadly tracks profits from current production by all businesses that have to file corporate tax returns, including LLCs and S corporations, plus some organizations that do not file corporate tax returns. It's based on income tax data from the IRS and on financial statement data filed with the SEC. So this isn't really a proper representation of what's actually happening, unfortunately. Um, and the reason that is because there are certain requirements that there's certain methodologies that have to be followed when these forms are being filed. So not gonna get into that because it's boring, but that's why it's not an accurate representation. All right, let's see here. Bitcoin, bullion, and big tech bounce as rate cut hopes roar higher. As you guys know, I've been talking about this for I don't know 2 months already. And that train has been in motion really since the summer pretty much ended. But it became clear a few months ago that the Fed really was behind the ball and the market was going to put its foot on its neck, and it did so. Um, and this is kind of what this chart is showing. Um, Financial conditions are very easy. All right, this is what this is saying on the right side. Oh, left side. Low. I'm not going to agree with that. Interesting. But there are no economic surprises. And they're trying to say that this is a function of the low financial conditions or the tight financial conditions, which is interesting. So let's see. Goldilocks soft landing, yada yada. Pick your own narrative. As economic data remains sluggish and financial conditions dramatically loose. That's what I thought. Okay, so I was reading that correctly. All of which prompted a dovish response in short-term interest rates, with the odds of a March rate cut higher, still at 90%. Or, I'm sorry, 80%. Yep. Naturally, why would that diminish? So the important thing to understand from all of this mumbo jumbo is what the actual driver is, right? And this is why I vehemently focus on the dollar, right? Like I'm always talking about that. And yeah, they were kind of talking about rates, but not really. And as you guys can see, this gap. Now let's confirm something with this gap here. Alrighty. Okay. So the contract seems to have no gap. So that looks like it's a rollover gap. Oh, it didn't give me the damn contract. Okay. So that's a rollover gap. And when it comes to futures markets or legacy markets in general, any gap matters. And it's always a matter of when or whatever, the context behind the gap. And in this instance, what we're seeing is a gap that was defended. And what that means is that it's become significant in the sense that it is now some pretty serious resistance because price had the opportunity to run up on it and take it out, and it didn't. In fact, what we saw were lower highs as time pressed on. And so much so that we've even made a newer low. So the market is really leaning bearish on the dollar right now, which prompts a lot of different actions, a lot of different things and themes that take hold. Because as a reserve currency, it really underpins a lot of the flows, right? And because the dollar is getting sold, that means things are getting bought. And that is why we'll see assets, risk on assets going up in value, right? I mean, I don't think cotton is really in that bucket, but it's popped a little bit. Gold, of course, is going to suffer from all this printing, so never mind that. There's copper, heating oil, a little bid, but it's been bid for a while. Let's just make it a little more easy to look at. Natural gas, finally coming up off its ridiculous lows. I mean, this market has just been getting pummeled, so it's gonna look crazy. Gasoline got a little bit lately. Silver, of course. Right, but then when you look at these currencies, they're all against the dollar when they're in futures terms or futures contracts in the U.S. And all of these been ripping, and that's against the dollar. So the dollar's just been getting shellacked in many terms. And for those that are unaware, I put out this chart earlier today. And long story short, this chart essentially highlights what's going on right now economically. And I just want to bring it to people's attention. Okay. So notice every time that this market is structurally bullish, which is like a lot recently, bad things happen. All right. So if you look at this period from 2000 to 2011, tech bubble, housing crash, right? And then we had the US downgrade. Fast forward, go back to the end of that period of time, the currency just went down. But what was happening during that time? All of those QEs, all of those currency swaps, all of these things that allows the Fed to print, print, print. But what's happening now? Well, looks like the market is taking a bullish stance once again. And it looks like it's just beginning. Right. So this is going to be a very important market to watch moving forward because it's really a very, very important and critical economic barometer. So, yeah. I mean, this is when Bitcoin was born. Bitcoin came at the peak of this shit. So, it's pretty important that people, well, not really. It was born here. The economic stresses were already present, and that's the point. This was the blow off top of all that. And it seems like we're about to enter that type of cycle again. And long story, technical story short, it's basically got to be something like this. All right, we want to see price break up and over and just retest this area at some point. $1.15, $1.14. And then just take off. I mean, if that is what it's going to do and it's not this line already that's provided support, did the shakeout divergence, then rip up. So there's a lot of ways to see this market has already bottomed um, structurally and should remain bullish for the foreseeable future. Because this is a 21-day chart, right? So I don't know how else to break it to you. Like, there's just a lot of momentum upward on this chart. So, yeah, not looking good for the home team, basically. All right, so let's continue. All right. US dollar, we just went over that. And that was, of course, a function of the USPC data. And now, you know what? Let me see something. Today is the 21st. Oh, so it didn't even have it. How about that? It only had the GDP data listed here, which it was, yeah, the actual was 4.9, the forecast was 5.2, so it was under the expectations, which is always bad. And the prior got revised down, so bad all around today. And stocks went fucking, bananas. Dollar went down, and this is again a function of that perception, right, and the expectations of what's to come with that economic reality that the stock market has essentially perverted because the Fed has allowed it to do so. I mean, that's what the Fed wanted anyway. But you get the point. In Argentina, contracts can now be settled in Bitcoin, foreign minister affirms. And the financial landscape, and this is on Twitter, so, you know, that's like saying it's law nowadays in some countries. And the way things are moving in most places, that's what just happened there. So the financial landscape, it keeps changing in many ways. Brazil has a VAT tax system now. I didn't even see that one coming. I mean, I kind of had an inkling that we're going to change it to something, but just not like that. That's European shit. It doesn't really fit in with the way their society is structured, and it's just, we'll see what happens. um, a lot of things are changing, and people, I hope, are paying attention. Smash and grab gang loots Chanel store blocks from the White House. Well, if we're lucky, they'll loot the White House next. Fingers crossed. Despite the gaslighting, Americans apparently understand inflation. I don't agree with this. I used to be a Jim Rickards fan. I learned a ton from this guy, but lately, I don't know what the fuck this dude is talking about. He just says the dumbest shit, and this is an example of that. I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but if there's something I know for fucking sure is that people do not understand money, so this headline makes zero sense. Just because people are buying gold doesn't mean a fucking thing. Because they're still using dollars, and that's the problem. So, do they really understand the issue? I'm going to go on ahead and say, no, sir. No, sir, they do not. Public has a right to know. O'Keefe, and that be O'Keefe of Project Veritas fame, which no longer exists after trying to play that game that they play. O'Keefe exposes busing of migrants direct from border to Phoenix airports. Ooh, and people act like this isn't going on when we see it every day. Like, this is well known. So if you're unaware, every day, four, five, six figures worth of people that are combatants cross the border into our country and get deployed all over the nation. You pick the terms you want to use. I'm telling you the correct ones. because that's what's happening. I mean, these dudes look like they here with their fam. Look at all that. I don't know. Don't get it. I don't understand why they're not being turned around at the border. I don't know why they're not being sent back home. I don't understand that. If I break into a bank and try to take the money, I'm pretty fucking sure they're gonna turn me around and probably put me in jail, not just let me go on ahead and do that. Trying to understand exactly how that works. So, as you can see, this one tweet states just ran into a group of African migrants from Guinea heading to New York City. They had documents from, quote, Catholic Community Services of Southern Arizona, Inc. Migrants all over the place here at the airport. This is insane. I mean, it's par for the course. This has been happening for years. People are just pretending that it's happening now, but it's been happening for a while. Non-UN citizens without passports, this lane only. You get your butt bent over when you travel. They don't even gotta have ID. Something to think about. O'Keefe interviews jet limo bus driver dropping off migrants at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport. Are these migrants from the border? Correct. I work for Jet Limousine and take a few trips a day. Airline pilots, agents coming forward with more. So this thing is just getting started. And, this is every day. And the thing about it is that people don't appreciate and don't maybe want to accept is that these people are getting paid to do what they're doing. They're not just coming here to chill and do the American dream thing. Like, that's not what's happening. It'd be different if that was the case. Nobody would give a fuck. But people understand that is not what the hell's going on. And that is ultimately was cause for alarm here. Because if it was anything else, I don't think anybody would give a flying rat's ass. America is a nation that is, a bunch of different people. So that is not the issue, clearly. Can't be. So it's understanding what occurs with these types of things. They're trying to let police officers now become people that are not US citizens, that don't know what this country is about. They don't have a fucking clue what the Constitution is. Hell, in their country, there is no law. So they're gonna come here and act like they're over there and do the shit they do over there. They're not gonna do the shit that we expect, even though pigs over here already ain't shit. So we're talking about creating a subclass of shit. Don't think that's gonna work out too well. So there's a lot of things changing. People are, they pretending as always, thinking they got it figured out when they don't got shit figured out. Because no matter where you want to live, it's the same exact things that are happening. The only difference is the pace at which they're happening. That's a fact, not an opinion. So you can continue pretending you will not have to fight. You're going to have to, because you're not going to be left with much of a choice. So you keep pretending. If that's you out there pretending, it's not going to work out. And yeah, we're going to laugh. Because people like me that are fully aware of what the hell is going on and are not pretending, that's pretty much statement says it all. Interest rates, what are they doing? And it looks like they're taking the same mode as equities, right? And if we throw the Donchians on here, It'll show us the positive slope on price along with the negative slope on momentum. So it's fair to say, this distribution in prices, we might see an auction downward to fill this gap. Maybe a move to 119 or so. And if not, it's sensible to see a move all the way down to 117 and recover this structure. Create some consolidation, give people an opportunity to re-enter the trade, and let the trade continue. Because as we know, this party is just getting started. I mean, this is an 8-day per candle chart. We got a long way to go. Because they fucked up in a major way. And here's the thing. You cannot, just like in 2008, right? Like, it was one thing I didn't understand about 2008 was the plumbing. So all the things I thought that were going to happen and didn't were literally a function of that. That's why I devoted so much time in my understanding of markets to understand how it is that the money moves, because that's literally what determines prices, not your opinion, not even some fundamental event, because prices make fundamentals. A lot of people have a hard time realizing that or respecting that. But the markets, with time, they force you to fucking respect that. It's not much of an option. So once capital is in motion, you gotta look at something that's very evident. Dollar's been going down. What's that? Yeah, whole year plus, about a year and a quarter or so, right? So that capital has to have been traveling to somewhere for that period of time, right? It wasn't here, as we can see, right? Let's take a look at a random currency. Wasn't here. Let's see what. Oh, was it here? Oh, maybe not. Where the hell was everybody going during that time? That's a good question. Let's find out. What was I looking at? Ah, the dollar, yes. And that is from October 2022 through December 2023. So October is our huckleberry. Well, October just so happened to be the bottom of the equity drought. Well, how about that, folks? How about that? Let's mark this on the chart. October 13th to now. Straight up, equity market, 30%. Dollar, October 10th. I mean, it really topped out before that, but who's, beggar? Who's being too so choosy? So you had a 2 month, or I'm sorry, not 2 months, 2 week gap between the top in the dollar and the bottom in equities. I mean, if you learn nothing from me, learn how money moves. Timing markets is not hard. Pretending you understand shit when you don't, however, is. This is not anything new. This has always been how it happens. If you dissect any market turn by looking at the currency that underpins that market, because you can put the S&P, E-mini future in anything. Australian dollar. And it's just a completely different chart with the impact is based on the currency, but the returns are going to be relative to the currency, but the overall price action is the same shit. It's the same exact thing. So try to understand this. This is going to set you very, very apart from the chaff. You don't want to be rocking with them. You want to be rocking with the pros. And as you guys know, when it comes to Hex, PLS, PLSX, consistency is the key, and understanding what cryptocurrency is the most important thing, because that is what's going to keep you in this game. Because Ethereum and Bitcoin didn't get to where they got by being on centralized exchanges. And that is something you need to study if you're new to crypto. That is something you need to understand if you're new to crypto. If you don't understand it and you're not new, then you're wrong and you better get there fast. Because if not, you're going to get left behind in such a way that you're just not going to understand what the fuck you thought you were thinking in 2023. Especially when I'm telling you this shit verbatim. So, good luck with that. Don't do yourself the favor and don't try to live a lie. A lot of these internet motherfuckers is out here doing that. Don't do that. So PLSX looked to give a local top yesterday, and it seemed to reverse for now. You gotta wait and see if the trend's gonna actually sustain that motion or not. PLS. Same deal. Same morons selling and buying. Fucking complaining about the price, and they're the ones fucking it up. I mean, people are just stupid. It's one of the main reasons I've stopped talking about crypto. Motherfuckers are just dumb. So this is Hex versus PLS. Not on ETH, but on PLS. About a cent. This should not. Yeah, I didn't think so. Here we go. EHEX from Ethereum. Half a cent, probably. Yeah, half a cent. It's looking good. I really wish people would just dump it to like 4 zeros. That'd be fucking great. I'm being hopeful with that, but we can dream, man. Everybody gets the option, of dreaming. So, if you don't know what Hex is, watch some of my older videos where I talk about Hex in detail. Hex is the premier cryptocurrency where only you can have control over the protocol when it runs and what you can do with it. And the whole reason for Hex's existence is to give you the power financially, because you can earn more crypto by being an owner of Hex and deciding to stake it for a determined amount of time. And you get to determine that amount of time. That amount of time can range from 1 day to 5,555 days, which is approximately 15.2 years. Now, if you look at what Bitcoin has done in 13 years and what Ethereum has done in 7 to 8, seems like the smart play is buying it and forgetting you have it. And it seems like the superior play is buying it, forgetting you have it, staking it, and letting it earn more crypto for you in the meantime. Just my 2 cents. I like math. Maybe you should try it. Maybe it'll help you understand how buying something that can only go up in value, meanwhile, it earns you more of that thing that only goes up in value. So your return profile is so convex over time that it doesn't even make sense to people that think that they're smart, because they just can't think that far. They cannot. The average person doesn't even know the difference between convexity and concavity. And I'll leave that to you to figure it out. Because at the end of the day, the idea behind crypto is to give people the ability to empower themselves financially. You could do the same thing with the stock market, but you really can't. You just think you are until they decide to shut you out, like they do with whoever they want. So it's understanding these things that help you wrap your head around why crypto, because you need to understand why crypto to respect the reason that it exists. I literally do not have to talk about Hex ever, because all you need to do is go look at the old videos. Nothing's changed. Same protocol. In fact, it's been upgraded because the website can't be shut down. So it's Supreme Crypto, Hex, PLSX, and PLS. Supreme Crypto and Inc. Supreme Crypto. Like, you got to understand what is going on in the world to be able to wrap your head around what is going on in the RH ecosystem. So be sure to not listen to people that don't know anything about the world. They're going to mislead you, they're going to misinform you, and they're going to misguide you. So make sure that you know the decisions that you're making and that you understand whether they make sense or not. Don't go off some chicken nuggets word or anybody's word. Go off your own. And with that, we'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. These motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all's deep. Everybody. My God. Ex-Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets it. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar